Now let's see how e-commerce happens in a very between in how actually e-commerce happens on a typical backend network, right? So let's first see an example which uses chat as an interface. Okay. Now, okay, and let's before we start, let's just set an initial condition. Okay, let's say there is somebody called Raj and family, and they are looking for eggs, bread, and milk, basically. Okay, at a particular time in a particular point in time during the day. Okay, now interestingly, Raj has a backend enabled chat a backend enabled chat app over here, right? Which means that the BAP which has implemented has implemented their side of the APIs and now are able to transact with a backend enabled network. Okay. Now, how does this process happen? He starts with by adding say a particular contact. Let's say it's some Kirana channel which he simply adds as a contact number in its application, and then he begins. Okay. Now, as you can see that on the top, it's the BAP, which is the chat application, which basically gets, which basically gets all the callbacks and it has fires all the requests. And then there's a BG in the network and there are multiple BPPs. Okay. So we start off with here. Now Raj types, say, I need eggs, bread, and milk into his chat application. Okay. Now what happens? The first thing what the chat does is that chat application does is it basically adds the items eggs, bread, and milk into the search packet, and then the first thing it does is it needs its location. So which means that it asks for a particular location, and say Raj adds his chat location inside his actual location inside inside the chat window. Now once he adds the chat location, the chat messenger basically adds all this eggs, bread, and milk, and also the fulfillment location inside the application, and actually fires the search API to the gateway. Now, when he fires the search API to the gateway first does a lookup. As I had mentioned, there is a registry infrastructure which is used for looking up what are all the BPPs which are relevant to my search. So the BG basically does a quick lookup to the registry, gets all the BPPs, and then it broadcasts the request to all the BPPs which are out there. Okay. So now as you can see that as in when these events are happening, there is a particular flow of there's a particular flow of information that is visible in the chat box. Okay. So once the BPPs receive each of the search requests, these BPPs basically fire their on search APIs. Okay. Asynchronously fire their on search API. Now the BAP basically receives all the on search requests, compiles them, or maybe it can also throw them asynchronously one after the other. It's completely dependent upon the BAP. The BAP basically gets all the search requests and then finally renders the output on the chat window. As you can see that the chat window basically shows that, hey, these are all the stores which are near you, and with some information on the distance and some information on the time which it takes to now deliver, etc. So now it also asks the BAP user to basically check if he wants to browse the individual catalog of a particular store. So the BAP user actually selects the store, okay, which he wants to whose catalog he wants to browse. Now, one interesting thing is, now since the BAP has actually selected the BPP whose catalog he wants to browse, it does not necessarily need to go via the gateway. Okay, this is an important point, which means that only the platform discovery happens via the gateway, while the once the platform has actually been selected, the BAP can actually fire the search APIs directly to the BPPs and get the catalog, because there's no need for an additional hop on the network because of that. Now the BPP actually sends back the catalog of that store, and and finally basically it basically asks the BPP to it basically asks the BPP to select, okay, what are all the items he wants, right? Now once the BAP user selects the item he wants to basically add to his cart. I mean, this is obviously not the same format in which he's going to be selecting. It can be in any, it can be one after the other as well. So once he does add all these items to his cart, then the BPP calculates the quote and says, hey, this is how much you need to. This is how much. This is a total cart value. Now you want to select. You want to continue, or do you want to continue adding more items to your cart? So let's say that Raj selects. Say, hey, I want to now continue. Okay, I want to actually check out. Okay. Now the next thing is that the first thing is he's asked is please enter your shipping details. Okay. Now, as you can see that the Raj is actually adding his shipping details to billing and shipping details to his chat application, and that gets fired as an init call right to the network. Now the BPP recomputes the total quote, it adds the delivery charges if any, and then sends back an on-init API where the BAP renders the payment terms as well. So as I had mentioned, the on-init API not only contains the final updated quote, it also contains the payment terms. So in this case, the BPP basically accepts, it must have integrated with a particular payment gateway, and it basically sends a payment link to the BAP. Okay. Now here is where the user clicks on the payment link, makes the payment, comes back with the transaction ID, and then that transaction ID is transmitted via the confirm API call. Okay. Now the BPP does a payment verification on its end. It does not necessarily always have to be payment received. It could also be a promise of payment, right, with a signed transaction status by the payment gateway. The promise of payment is basically sent to the BPP, and the BPP finally ends up confirming the order. That's that your order is actually confirmed. We are searching for delivery agents near you. Now all of this happened on one network, which is the local retail network. Okay.